local housing. We're going to actually go out and check out some sushi. But first up, before we do that, we're going to talk about a couple of things, actually. A man who wears a few different hats here, a couple of different hats in the Valley. Mayor R. Rex Parris has joined us. Welcome.
Good evening.
And attorney.
Yes.
According to the big billboard. Someone I can trust. It says so right there as you drive through the freeway, the big billboard. I want to talk attorney things, too. Okay. I'll get to the city stuff in a second. You do a commercial running right now that's kind of interesting to me about the trucking industry. The deregulation of the trucking industry. I have some friends who are in the trucking industry. When they deregulated, they said they predicted the highways are going to become more dangerous. And in your commercial, you mentioned that you have seen an increase. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Not only did we see an increase in trucking accidents, the severity of them are increasing too. Not too long ago, we had a case in Utah where the truck driver, before he woke up, had driven through 3 of the children. It was a station wagon, and all of the seats were occupied. And he had been driving 22 hours.
Now, it used to be illegal to do that. You had to have it in your logs,
It's still
right?
illegal, but they phony up the logbooks. Now it's easier to catch them phoning up the logbooks because there's computer tracking devices in most trucks. And there's also a black box in most trucks and most cars. Really? And so we can download it onto a laptop and know how fast they were going when they applied the brakes, things of that nature.
Now, I know when the big truck accident on the 5 and the 14 there, where the tunnel, some dozen truck drivers never returned to even claim their, and they lived, but they never returned to even claim their trucks or anything. And doesn't that sound fishy to you?
Well, I think whenever you have to understand that whenever somebody dies in a trucking accident, it can very well become a homicide very quickly. If they're violating those safety laws, it's a homicide.
Yeah. So,
and one of the reasons they don't want to return is they don't want to be drug tested.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even days later?
The only way you can drive for days on end is to be under the influence of methamphetamine or some similar drug. And that is extremely common.
Wow. So. All right, that's what I want to talk about, because I noticed there has been a crease, and you mentioned that in the whole thing. Getting to the city, you're entertaining me, and in a good way.
Well, I'm not intending to.
In a good way, because I'm really enjoying some of the things that's coming out of the city of Lancaster. The pit bull ordinance, and your line that you said, we're going after the pit bulls now. It was all about the gangs, you said.
Yeah, it really is.
And tell me about that. Tell me what brought that decision forward. And
well, it occurred to me that what we've been doing for the last 20, 30 years on gangs, probably longer than that. I mean, I remember in law school, one of my professors telling us that the gang problem was going to engulf this country in a way that we couldn't even imagine, because they were seeing it in cities like Chicago, and that's where he was from, and the number of gangs and the violence increasing. And everything he said came to fruition. The gangs in this country are a far greater threat to the American way of life than Osama bin Laden ever was. And yet we continue to try to accommodate them. And what I mean by accommodate them is we want to have programs to help the people in gangs get out of the gangs.
Help their esteem. They're just
whatever. And I'm not saying all of that isn't to have some validity to it. I'm really not. What I'm saying is that the threat they are to the entire nation is such that we have to bear the injustice, and that's exactly what it's going to be, the injustice of crushing these gangs.
Is it because we tend to be more passive? Or as Americans, we're just kind of passive and don't want to really take a look and get involved, and it gives them the ability to just...
It wasn't until Section 8 came about that these gangs ended up in our neighborhoods and threatening our children and threatening to engulf our children into that way of life. We now know, middle America knows just what these gangs mean, what they represent, and the damage they can do. And I think that's the reason.
So going after the dogs, in this case, dangerous dogs. We can't use pit bulls because that segregates dogs, I guess.
No, I get to do that.
Oh, do you? You can actually say
they might sue me for it, but I get to do that.
Well, good. Okay.
The fact of the matter is the gangs have taken pit bulls and to a certain extent Rottweilers and have used them as a weapon. They've weaponized these dogs, and they walk around
terrorize the neighborhood.
Right. Just the presence of the dog terrorizes a lot of people, makes it so they don't want to come out. They're afraid to come out. They're afraid to walk down their own neighborhoods. And then as an attorney, I see the damage these dogs do. I mean, we're getting ready to try a case where the pit bull tore the face of a 1.5-year-old infant off, and they had to eviscerate the dog to try to get pieces of the ear back in order to try to reattach, which was unsuccessful. These dogs have become a menace, and yeah, guess what? In the city of Lancaster, we're discriminating against pit bulls and Rottweilers. Make no mistake about it.
You know, I talked to a number of people who are pit bull owners, and they'll always tell me that, well, I have a pit bull, I've had one forever, and Daisy's the sweetest animal. The sweetest dog ever.
It's not the pit bull's fault; it's the owner's fault.
Right.
But that doesn't help the infant that's face is torn off.
I always say that most people will say that just after the accident too. That this, that Fluffy never hurt anybody before. I can understand what causes to happen.
But the primary reason I've done it is I keep saying it. We're taking their cars, we're taking their dogs, and next month we're enacting an ordinance that'll allow Children's Services to take their children.
How?
Well, I think we have enough data now to support a ordinance that says it's child neglect to have a child in the home where a gang member is living. It risks their life. It is far more dangerous for that child.
The gang member stuff, though, I'm always confused about that. Is there a card? Is there a special roster?
There's actually a process.
Is there a roster somewhere that says I'm a gang member?
There's a roster that says you've been identified as a gang member. Absolutely.
By whom?
By the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, so that
there's a massive intelligence operation going on to identify exactly who all these gang members are. And, they don't hide it.
Well, I know, but
they tattoo it on their necks, their face, their arms. Right. They advertise, I'm a member of this gang. It's not like we're picking people out and saying they're a member of a gang when they're not. It's something they're proud of. This isn't a secret society they belong to. It's not like the Masons. I mean,
well, but at least Masons carry a card.
So do they. They usually carry it tattooed on their body.
Right. Someplace, one you can't revoke. Other thing I want to talk about, because we're running out of time, is we reported on the news tonight the giving a ticket or a train ticket to the homeless to wish them well. A ticket and a box lunch.
Yes.
And wish them well.
Yes.
And this is a program you're starting, you're going. And
my wife and I started, actually. My wife and I are funding it.
It's a private program.
Initially, yeah.
And, at first when you hear this, you go, oh my gosh, you're just going to...
It's a bus pass. It's the Opportunity Bus Pass.
But many, though, it's not such a bad place down in L.A. to be if you're home, especially if you're cold.
Wait a minute, I didn't say we're going to give them a ticket to L.A.
Well, where are you taking them? Where are you giving them a ticket to?
Further the better.
But where?
Well, actually, I think that we have to do it in a way that addresses
Philadelphia?
their needs, wherever their home is,
really?
Wherever they feel they could go and get the services they need, because we're inundated. We have
get to family, get to support.
Yes,
wherever the support is.
It's easy to be facetious about it and make jokes about it, but the reality is it benefits the community, because we're going to spend far less resources to help them get on their way, and it benefits them.
Well, no, and that's what I can see. I mean, I support this on both those measures, but especially the one that there's probably a lot of people who just don't have the means to get to where their support is.
That's correct.
And this is a wonderful thing. And so
it's going to be a good program.
What
I don't know if we're going
about?
to be able to continue to fund it.
Sure.
Well, it's not a secret that my wife and I have been blessed with a certain level of success in this community that allows us to do things. And one of the things we're doing is this.
Well, were you sitting around the house one day, or were you over at Walmart and said, if we give folks a ticket out of here?
Every year we take a significant portion of our income and decide where to place it. And that's what happened in December, as we were placing the... it's a tithe that we give back to the community.
Have you heard this working other places, or
no?
Are we new? That's what I'm getting to. Is it's kind of a new thing, because I haven't heard about this.
Most of the things we're doing right here in Lancaster have not been tried elsewhere. What we've done with gangs is going to spread across the nation, and it really is because the sheriff has put together a group of command personnel. They're highly educated, highly creative, incredibly bright guys who have decided to address these problems in new and innovative ways. And if we fail in certain of them, we're going to fail on certain measures that we try, but we're going to be successful on others. And, you know, it's kind of a no holds barred, let's fix the problems. And I am overwhelmed of how successful it is. I mean, you know, yesterday we heard 10%, 11%, but what really we're seeing is this, is if you take October to December of 2007 and compare it to October to December of 2008, crime in Lancaster dropped 30%. There is no city in the entire nation that can say that. It is truly phenomenal. The gangs are literally disappearing before our eyes. And it's with ways that have never been done before.
Well,
make a lot of sense.
You know, we're out of time. But
Okay,
you got to come back and continue this, because I want to talk about even new plans, new ideas you have, because you've been in Lancaster for all your life.
Yes.
So you know what it can be, what it is, and what it can possibly be.
This is really the best job in the world, because it gives you the ability to actually come up with plans that work and then implement them. And we've got a city staff in Lancaster they're exciting.
They're good folks. They're good folks. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
That's right there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to taste some sushi, so stick around. Actually, we'll get to taste it. You don't get to taste it, but you get to watch people taste it.